Hey, Chris Grove back at you with another film review. Today we are doing Office Space from 1999. Office Space stars Ron Livingston as Peter Gibbons, Gary Cole, Bill Lumberg, Stephen Root, Milton Wadhams, Jennifer Aniston, Joanna, David Herman, who plays Michael Bolton, A.J. Nadeau, Samir, Dietrich Bader as Lawrence, John C. McGinley, Bob Seidel, and written and directed by Mike Judge. Mike Judge is the creator of Beavis and Butthead and a lot of observational comedy and a lot of things that take place in Central Texas. I believe this was filmed somewhere between, some shots were in Dallas from what I understand, and Austin as well. It's about working in a tech firm circa 1999, solving the Y2K problem for software engineers and programmers. And our main hero, played by Ron Livingston, Peter Gibbons, hates his job. He absolutely abhors his job. He does not like this job at all. You can take this job and shove it. He is so done with it. He is so burnt out. So he goes to see a hypnotherapist, and while under hypnosis and completely relaxed, he ends up, the hypnotherapist dies of a heart attack, and he is left fully in Zen mode. And there's a lot of funny things that happen. And it touches on the absurdity of office work and cubicle life, and anyone who's had to punch a clock for anyone can relate to this. So, at first he's just completely zen. He's supposed to work that weekend, doesn't show up, sleeps in, goes fishing with his neighbor, hilariously played by Dietrich Bader. And he just broke up with his girlfriend who's been cheating on him. So, he's always wanted to ask out this waitress where they go to escape to have coffee in the morning when they can't handle work anymore, he and his friends. His friends are Michael Bolton and Samir. And they're both software engineers, and they can handle it a little bit better than Peter can, but Peter's like, I gotta get out of here. I'm having a case of the Mondays, as someone calls it, Moon Day and Monday. So he's like, all right, gotta bail. So they go have coffee at this place. He always wants to ask out Joanna. And Joanna's played by the lovely Jennifer Aniston, of course. And there's a wonderful scene where he asks her out. And it's a great scene because it just shows how powerful you are when you're totally relaxed, in Zen mode, and have full-on confidence. And he just walks up to her and says, "What are you doing for lunch today?" Because our specials are on the board. He goes, "No, I was asking what you were doing for lunch. Would you like to have lunch with me?" It's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. And he's like, "I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go next door, get a table. If you wanna join me, great. If not, no big deal." And she goes, "Well, when you say next door, you mean Chili's or Flingers?" He's like, "Flingers," which apparently is a good choice for people that know about Flingers. I've never heard of Flingers. No Chili's though. Anyway, it's a wonderful, beautiful scene. And of course she shows up and basically is just completely honest about how he's kind of done with his job and probably won't show up anymore and kind of done with it all, but wants to take her out to dinner and then take her back home so they can watch Kung Fu. She goes, "I love Kung Fu." David Carradine, great show, check it out. Very 70s, you'll love it. Anyway, he starts to snap out of it, and as he realizes that after getting this number, he shows up back to the office, not dressed appropriately in a suit and tie or wearing a tie or whatever, and he just goes in there and talks to these, proficiency experts who are basically laying people off. And they're both named Bob, and Bob Seidel is played by John C. McGinley, who is just great in this role. And as John C. McGinley is in all his roles. So he's like, Peter, welcome. How you doing? And Peter just says, well, I basically come in late. I do this. I don't do that. I basically do like 15 minutes of actual work, and I kind of space out for the rest of the day. And they're loving his honesty, and they offer him a promotion, especially when he says, it's not that I'm lazy. There's just no incentive for me to care. There's no and he goes, well, how about stock options and this, that, and the other? Like, how would you feel about that? He's like, I don't know, I guess. Anyway, I'm gonna go, but good luck with your firings. I hope your layoffs go really well. And it's just a great scene. So he realizes he's gonna get promoted. Meanwhile, Michael Bolton and Samir, that do work their asses off, are gonna get canned. So he lets them know about it. Michael Bolton has a plan to rip off the company that he's never utilized because he has a great job. And as Peter says, well, what if you don't have a great job? Because, well, there's this plan from Superman 3 that they start to utilize and they put in motion, where they rip off the company, but they get like a penny of fractions off the percentage of the company. So it takes a while to kick in, but they can retire off this apparently. And it will go unnoticed because it's such a small payout each month, in theory. And apparently, yeah, they did this in Superman 3, and that's where they got the idea for this, and where Mike Judge got the idea for this, which I love. I think that's great. Because Superman 3 does have its charm. A lot of people kind of crap on that movie, but it's, I think Pryor and Reeves are great together. So, yeah. Anyway. Watch Superman 3. You'll love it. So they set this plan in motion. Samir handles the things that Michael Bolton can't do, so they bring him on board. And so it's the three of them ripping off this company. They get laid off. Peter's basically going to quit anyway, so they retire early. There's a wonderful scene where they take this printer that's always giving them trouble, that won't print properly and always gives an error, and they just take the printer out into a field and just beat the crap out of it with baseball bats. And it's everything is set to gangster music, which makes it even funnier, like gangster rap. So it's a good movie. The soundtrack is great too, by the way. There's a montage where Peter just is tearing down the cubicle, so his cubicle gets like a window view, and he's playing Tetris and doesn't care what his boss says, and he's got a meeting with the Bobs anyway because he's about to get promoted. And it's just about not giving any F's at all and just getting rewarded for that, which can or cannot happen in the real world. I wouldn't know if I would recommend this kind of behavior, but I can see, given the premise of this film and the characters involved, how it does culminate into that. And there are consequences, and there are certain things that happen in the movie, and things that they finally realize that the money is all paid out at once. Okay, so they're not like, it's not the fraction of the percent, because apparently Michael Bolton forgot a decimal point somewhere. And so Peter goes to the ATM and he's like, oh crap, it's all being paid out at once. What do we do? So he decides to leave a confession letter and everything else. There's, in the meantime, a subplot with Milton and Gary Cole. And Gary Cole is basically trying to push Milton off into the ether. He also finds out from the proficiency experts that he was fired years ago, but through a glitch in payroll, he still gets a paycheck, and no one told him he was fired. So they're like, well, we'll just fix the glitch and it'll work itself out naturally. So no need to fire him, apparently. So, yeah, that happens, and Milton is just kind of like one of those squirrely guys who he's just listens to the radio at a reasonable volume and watches the squirrels, is on the phone with someone saying, well, they moved my desk and I had a window view and I was watching the squirrels and they were married or merry. Like, I don't know if he's saying married or merry, which is kind of funny because if they were married, wow, okay, you're really into these squirrels' lives. Good for you, Milton. But now that he's no longer receiving a paycheck, Gary Cole's character, Lumbergh, doesn't tell him about it. He just pushes him off to the side and pushes him down into the basement and Sector 7 and just kind of forgets about him. And there's a wonderful scene where it's Lumbergh's birthday and Milton keeps passing the cake and then doesn't receive a piece of cake because they're all taken. And he's just really left out in the cold. So, without giving away what's happening in this movie, let's just say he gets Cole gets his comeuppance, and let's just say that Lumbergh gets his comeuppance, and Milton definitely gets what's owed to him. And it's a wonderful scene, and he makes out like a bandit, and it's great. And of course it involves the confession letter and leaving the money, and I'm going to set the building on fire, and if you can figure all this out, put two together, and you haven't seen this movie, you can probably figure it out yourself. But it's a wonderful, wonderful scene, and it's a wonderful premise, and it's just a good movie about take this job and shove it. So, Gary Cole, I just want to talk about him for a minute. He is great as the boss, the head CEO, because he just comes across with that, yeah, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday. Oh, and we're also playing catch-up, so I'm going to need you to come in on Sunday, too. Okay, thanks a bunch. You know, that's how he deals with Peter in the beginning, before Peter's hypnosis and transformation. And the way he deals with Milton is, well, even worse, because he realizes he can get away with more with Milton, especially when Peter starts to get a backbone and doesn't care. I mean, there's a wonderful scene where he hasn't shown up for work when he's supposed to. He's not working the overtime that he's been ordered to, and Peter just walks right by Lumbergh as he's trying to talk to him. And we also see Joanna, who's now dating Peter, at her job, where she's a waitress at Chotsky's, and she's got to wear certain minimal, like 30 pieces of flair, or 24 pieces of flair. But that's just the bare minimum. Meanwhile, there's another waiter there, server, that wears way more and, you know, has a killer, it just goes over the top in his personality and salesmanship. Where her boss, who's played by Mike Judge in a cameo, says, well, do you want to do the bare minimum, or do you want to be like Brian over here and do more? And I think you should do more, and we encourage that. You know, very condescending in tone. And that's what this movie really drives home, is how condescending upper management is, or middle management and upper management is. Like, for example, Peter has 5 bosses in the beginning, and they all tell him that they changed the cover on their TPS reports, and he gets to hear that 5 different times. So, is this something that Peter wants to deal with every day? No, and you can see why he just wants out so badly. And it's just a wonderful film. It really drives home the soullessness of corporate America big time, and how we long for, we're not meant to be sitting in cubicles, but yet here we are, because it's the modern world, and we're still doing that today. This is 2026. This movie came out in 1999. And it does touch on the Y2K thing, and I remember how that was such a scary thing back in 1999, where, okay, the year 2000 is coming around. If we don't switch this code over, it's gonna break us technologically. And of course it didn't, and we plowed through, so it was fine. But there was a huge hype about that back then. But this is a great movie. I would highly recommend everyone check it out. It's fun, it's insightful, it's a parody, but it really touches on real life. So check out Office Space from 1999. As always, this is Chris Grove. I will try to do more frequent film reviews. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. If you want to make any suggestions of movies you'd like to see, or content that you'd like to see. Occasionally I delve into just talking about real life issues, which I'm trying to do more of too. So this is kind of a best of both worlds channel, and we'll see how it flows. But until next time, life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived, so live it. Catch you next time.